This topic is environment. First we have carbon footprint. Carbon footprint. It's a countable noun. A carbon footprint is the amount of carbon dioxide produced by the activities of a person, organization, or community. Those aren't carbon footprints in the picture, but those are footprints. My footprint and Frank's footprint. George is trying to reduce his carbon footprint by riding his bike more often. Many companies have started measuring their carbon footprints. Next we have deplete. Deplete. It's a verb. It means to reduce something considerably in size or quantity, often natural resources or money. The noun is depletion, which is the act of depleting something. Here's a usage tip. The thinning of Earth's ozone layer is called ozone depletion. The main cause is the use of man-made chemicals, which are referred to as ozone-depleting substances. In recent years, ozone levels have begun to recover thanks to the banning of most of these substances. Another usage tip. It is often used passively. For example, fish populations in the area were massively depleted. And here we have a couple of collocations. You can say to severely deplete or to be severely depleted. Rainforests have been severely depleted in that region. She couldn't control her spending habits and she completely depleted her savings. Frank's energy was depleted after he climbed the mountain. It was actually a hill, but Frank insists that it was a mountain. Now we have the verb deteriorate. Deteriorate. Yes, I know the pronunciation is a little tricky. To deteriorate means to become worse, often used when discussing the environment, buildings, health, conditions, or the economy. The noun is deterioration. That means the process. This jetty has started to deteriorate. Here are a few collocations. To deteriorate gradually. To deteriorate rapidly. To deteriorate steadily. You can also put the adverb before the verb, so you can say to gradually deteriorate, to rapidly deteriorate, and to steadily deteriorate. Air quality in the city has gradually but steadily deteriorated. Our profits will definitely decrease if economic conditions continue to deteriorate. Her sight has rapidly deteriorated. Now we have due. Dew. It's an uncountable noun. Dew is small drops of water that form on the ground and other outdoor surfaces at night. The adjective is dewy. In the picture you can see some dew on grass. George likes walking on the grass early in the morning because he likes feeling the dew under his feet. We thought it had rained the night before because the outdoor furniture was wet, but it was just dew. And now we have a phrasal verb. This is dispose of something. To dispose of something means to get rid of something that you no longer want or need, particularly if it is difficult to get rid of. The noun is disposal, which means the act of disposing of something. The adjective is disposable, and that means made to be thrown away after it is used. One of the main arguments against nuclear energy is that it can be difficult to safely dispose of the waste. Even small pieces of plastic can do harm to the environment, so they need to be disposed of properly. Now we have the verb dwindle. Dwindle. It means to gradually become smaller or fewer in number. The adjective is dwindling. That means becoming gradually smaller or fewer in number. Natural habitats have dwindled over the years due to deforestation. Deforestation is the destruction of forests. The rhinoceros population is dwindling. Support for that political party has been dwindling recently. Next we have emission. Emission. It's a countable noun. It has a couple of meanings. Number 1, a gas or other substance that is released into the air. Number 2, the act of sending out or producing gas, heat, light, etc. The verb is to emit. That means to release something such as gas, heat, light, etc. A little usage tip. It is usually used in the plural. For example, some factories release toxic emissions into the air. And here are some collocations. We have carbon dioxide emissions. You can also say carbon emissions. Greenhouse gas emissions. Toxic emissions. And then with a couple of verbs, to limit emissions and to reduce emissions. Some governments are trying to reduce carbon emissions by investing in new transport technologies. The emission of greenhouse gases into the atmosphere has increased significantly over the last few decades. And now we have the adjective environmentally friendly. Environmentally friendly. This means having little or no harmful effect on the environment. These shopping bags are environmentally friendly. Here's a usage tip. It is usually hyphenated if it comes before a noun. For example, he uses environmentally friendly cleaning products. So that's with a hyphen. He uses cleaning products which are environmentally friendly. That's without a hyphen. Paper packaging is more environmentally friendly than plastic packaging. Cycling is an environmentally friendly form of transport that also has health benefits. Next we have fossil fuel. Fossil fuel. It's a countable and uncountable noun. It's a fuel such as oil or coal that formed underground over millions of years from dead plants or animals. Oil is a fossil fuel. A lot of carbon emissions come from the burning of fossil fuels. Sun and wind energy are alternatives to fossil fuel. And now we have harmless. Harmless. It's an adjective. It has a couple of meanings. Number 1, unable or unlikely to cause harm. Number 2, unlikely to offend or upset anyone. Let's see the word family. First we have the noun harm and the verb to harm. I'm sure you know those ones. Then we have the adverb harmlessly, the noun harmlessness, which is the quality of being harmless, and then the adjective unharmed, which means not harmed. A little usage tip. It is sometimes followed by to. For example, don't worry, these snakes are harmless to humans. And here are a couple of collocations. A harmless joke and harmless fun. These new cleaning products are harmless to the environment. My cousin is scared of that neighbor, but he's completely harmless. Ethel is annoyed with Frank because he hid her keys, but he says it was just harmless fun. And now we have the adjective hospitable. Hospitable. This has a couple of meanings. Number 1, of people. Friendly and generous to visitors. Number 2, of an environment. Having good conditions for things to grow or live. The noun is hospitality. That means friendly behavior towards visitors. The adverb is hospitably. A little usage tip. It is sometimes followed by to or towards. For example, the locals are normally very hospitable to tourists. And now a few collocations. We have a hospitable host, so that's a person. A hospitable climate, and a hospitable environment. The owners of the little inn we stayed in were so hospitable. It's obvious why they had 5 stars on TripAdvisor. Stagnant water creates a hospitable environment for mosquitoes. He decided to move south to a more hospitable climate. Now we have the opposite of hospitable, which is inhospitable. This is also an adjective. Inhospitable has a couple of meanings. Number 1, of people. Not friendly or generous to visitors. Number 2, of an environment. Not suitable for humans to live in because of unpleasant weather conditions or a lack of shelter. A little usage tip. It is sometimes followed by to or towards. For example, the locals have grown inhospitable towards foreigners. And a couple of collocations. An inhospitable climate and inhospitable terrain. Terrain basically means land of a particular kind. Sadly, most people I met there were rude and inhospitable. They walked for days across inhospitable terrain. Antarctica is one of the most inhospitable regions in the world. That's Antarctica in the picture. It's pretty, but you probably wouldn't want to live there. Now we have landfill. landfill. It's a countable and uncountable noun. It has a few meanings. Number 1, the practice of burying household and industrial waste in large holes in the ground. Number 2, waste that is buried in this way. Number 3, a place where large amounts of waste are buried. So it can be the process, the stuff, or the place. It's normally clear from the context. Let's see some examples. The first sentence is about the practice or the process. Some people say that incineration is better for the environment than landfill. Incineration is burning. In the next sentence, landfill is the stuff or waste. The recycling center separates recyclable items from landfill. And in the next sentence, landfill means the place. The company always sends its garbage to a landfill. Next, we have the adjective large scale. Large scale. This means involving a lot of people, things, effort, money, etc., or happening over a large area. Often used when discussing the environment, business, or economics. Let's see some collocations. We have a large-scale operation, large-scale destruction, large-scale development, large-scale investment, and large-scale production. People are worried about large-scale destruction in the Amazon rainforest. The recent hurricane was a large-scale natural disaster. That means it was over a large area and there was a lot of damage. Large-scale automobile production made cars more affordable. Now we have litter. Litter. It's a countable and uncountable noun. When it's uncountable, it means small pieces of rubbish such as cans, waste paper, and wrappers that people have left on the ground in a public place. When it's a countable noun, it means a group of baby animals that are born at the same time to the same mother. So yes, it has two quite different meanings. The verb is to litter, and that means to leave small pieces of rubbish in a public place. If the police catch you dropping litter, you'll receive a fine. My dog gave birth to a litter of 4 puppies. No, those aren't my puppies. That's just an example. Now we have nuclear waste. Nuclear waste. It's an uncountable noun. It means unwanted and dangerous radioactive material that mainly comes from nuclear power plants. In the picture, you can see a nuclear power plant or station. You guys probably know this. The white stuff coming out of the towers is not the nuclear waste. That's steam, water vapor, in other words. Here are some collocations. To dispose of nuclear waste. The disposal of nuclear waste. Nuclear waste disposal. And now with the word dump. If you don't know the word dump, it means to get rid of something, normally in an inappropriate or illegal way. To dump nuclear waste. the dumping of nuclear waste. Nuclear waste dumping. The dumping of nuclear waste in oceans has been banned for many years. Nuclear waste disposal carries many risks and can also be very expensive. This word is pollutant. Pollutant. It's a countable noun. A pollutant is a substance that pollutes something, especially air, water, or soil. Let's see the word family. First we have the verb pollute, then the noun pollution. I'm sure you know those two. And we also have the noun polluter. That's a person, business, country, etc. that causes pollution. Here are some collocations. First we have air pollutants and water pollutants. Those are things that pollute the air or the water. Then we have chemical pollutants. Those are pollutants which are chemicals. And finally, industrial pollutants. Those are pollutants that come from industry. Air pollutants can have a negative impact on people's health. Sulfur dioxide is a harmful pollutant that is released into the atmosphere when coal is burned. Now we have the adjective renewable. Renewable. It has a couple of meanings. Number one, that is replaced naturally or can be used without the risk of it running out. Energy and natural resources. Number two, that can be continued for an extra period of time. We often use it to talk about certain types of tickets, official documents, etc. Let's see the word family. First we have the verb to renew. That means to begin again or to extend something. Then we have the noun renewal, which is the process or the act. And then we have the noun renewables. Those are types of renewable energy. Wind and solar power are examples of renewable energy. And now some collocations. We have renewable energy, a renewable energy source, a renewable resource, a renewable contract, and a renewable visa. In discussions about renewable energy sources, people often forget about tidal energy. She needs to leave the country before the end of the year because her visa isn't renewable. The next word is smog. Smog. It's an uncountable noun. It's dirty air that is or looks like a mixture of smoke and fog. It is mainly in cities where there are lots of cars and/or factories. The adjective is smoggy. Smog is a combination of the words smoke and fog. The local government hopes that improving the public transport system will reduce the amount of smog in the city. Now we have snowflake. Snowflake. It's a countable noun. A snowflake is a small, flat piece of snow. you can see some snowflakes in the picture. Images of snowflakes are often used on Christmas cards. Every snowflake is unique, but each one has hexagonal symmetry. The next word is sustainable. Sustainable. It's an adjective. It has a couple of meanings. Number one, involving the use of methods and/or products that cause little or no damage to the environment. Number two, able to continue for a long time. Let's see the word family. The adverb is sustainably. The noun is sustainability. That's the practice of using methods that cause little or no damage to the environment, or the ability to continue for a long time. The verb is sustain. The verb has several meanings, but the main meaning is to make something continue for a period of time. And finally, we have the adjective sustained. That means continuing for a long period of time. Here are some collocations. Environmentally sustainable, sustainable development, sustainable farming, sustainable land management, and sustainable economic growth. Environmentally sustainable tourism is gaining in popularity. The government is now trying to promote sustainable agriculture. The company fears that its current output is not sustainable. The final word for this topic is wilderness. Wilderness. It's a countable noun. It means a large area of land that has never been used for farming or for building towns and roads, particularly land where it is difficult to live. Here's a little usage tip. It is usually used in the singular. For example, she likes to go camping in the wilderness. They had to hike through a rocky wilderness before they arrived at the lake. Some people consider Antarctica the world's last great wilderness. I recently watched a documentary about companies that are trying to reduce their carbon footprints. These companies are trying to develop more sustainable and environmentally friendly ways of doing things. It's true that some of them are mainly doing it to improve their image, but I suppose what matters at the end of the day is the result. The documentary first highlighted some of the major threats to the environment and the climate. For example, it showed how fish populations in many parts of the world have been massively depleted due to large-scale fishing. Many animals' natural habitats are also deteriorating because of harmful pollutants. Another problem is the enormous quantities of litter that end up in the oceans. It mentioned as well that if there are drastic changes in the climate, some places where people are currently living may turn into rather inhospitable environments. There's also the problem of smog in large cities, much of which is caused by factories in some places. Many companies are now trying to rely less on fossil fuels in order to reduce their carbon emissions. Some are making a concerted effort to use renewable energy. Some companies were in favor of nuclear power, but acknowledged that disposing of nuclear waste can be complicated. The documentary also mentioned that some businesses are trying to use more recyclable and compostable materials, so that less of their waste ends up in a landfill. Another thing that some are focusing on is using chemicals that are harmless to the environment. A representative from one company said that when they opened a new branch in a small town, the locals became more hospitable towards them when they learned that the company had a sustainability plan. However, we still need to be wary when it comes to trusting companies. Just because a company has pretty images of a lush wilderness on its website, or artistic photos of snowflakes or dew, they're not necessarily doing things to help the environment. Some companies are genuinely making an effort to change their ways, but others just want you to think they are. I really hope that this enthusiasm from companies continues to grow and doesn't dwindle over the coming years.